Hey there, everybody. So, if you've been following me, you would know that about 9 days ago, I just opened this new pen, and it's the Edison Collier Grande, and I've been using it like non-stop this whole week. It's been really a great pen, and so I wanted to update you with a review of it, and more like in depth than the other was, because the other was just kind of my first impressions and unboxing it and just kind of checking it out in that way. So I think I want to start off by saying that the writing experience of this nib is just exquisite. I mean, really, I've just never put this thing down. I only had like one other one other pen inked during the time, because this was just so remarkable. And so this is kind of my one of me saying what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and there's just very few points that I don't like, that I dislike. It's more positive review, you could say. And so anyway, so it's some stuff that I didn't mention in the unboxing is it's a number 8 nib on these, and the nibs are actually from Magna Carta, and it's an ebonite feed. So I don't think I mentioned that on the other where I was unboxing it, but it's just a really solid combination. It's just remarkable, honestly, and they just really outdid theirself. Like I said before, I had my Nouveau premiere for, it's now been like 7 or 8 years, and I loved it, but, you know, obviously my taste changed, and I grew to, you know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the cartridge converter, and that's actually how this pen is originally, the way that it normally comes is a cartridge converter, but I have it with the draw filler is how mine is, but again, that's $100 more, and I didn't mention either that the Collier Grande is, I assume it's their most pricey pen, so they run $325 US for the Collier Grande with cartridge converter, and then it would be $425 if you were to get the draw filler, which that's what I have. But again, it's not the biggest deal, but as you can understand if you know pens, that I got the draw filler because I had him give me the broad nib, so I could have a little bit extra ink capacity, which it does really well with. But anyway, so again, like I said, I'm just think that they really just did great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with their production models, but this is just an outstanding one. And I can understand how some people would, if they were to get the Collier Grande, they would probably want, Mr. Parker over on Fig Boot on Pens mentioned this, and he made a good point, that you would want to get a more translucent style of material, but I didn't find it to be an issue at all for me, because I've been using like vintage pens that are just opaque, so it's okay. I know to check my ink, and it's not a big deal. But that is to be known, and as well that Collier Grandes are not designed to post. I don't know if the regular Collier posts. I think it does, but anyway, but another point there. And I have to say the fit and finish of this is just, it's everything on this is like brilliant. Because see, this is where, if you have the draw filler mechanism, you would have this wand cap, but this just goes on, and you virtually can't even tell that that's a blind cap. It's just phenomenal. And so before I do any riding with it, by the way, I hope that this low angle is okay. I wanted to do the low angle so I could show it this, especially with this model, some size comparison for you guys. So this is the Nouveau Premier, which this is a number 6 YOLO nib on this. So that's how this looks in comparison. It's quite a bit thicker. But by the way, the material I chose was cappuccino swirl on this, and this is just called the Spring Edition from 2017. So, and it's a much more rounded, like it's like cigar shape style to it. And then here it is, and now we're going to go to a couple other pen makers of size comparison. So this is a pen that I've not reviewed, that I will review soon, one day. And this is a Waterman Expert. And that's how it is in comparison. So this one, basically, the Collier Grande kind of towers over it. But anyhow. And I don't know the nib size. It's probably a number 5 or so. And then here it is in regards to the Stef'sVacs&More. It's closer in size. It's I think these are it's a number 6 nib, I believe, on that. So, and I don't usually talk about weights because I don't have a gram scale over here, so I'm definitely not one that would do that. But I knew for this pen specifically, I wanted to remember to include a size comparison like that. And then the 2 pens that I think it's the closest in size to. So here is the Collier Grande in regards to a Pelican M1000. It's quite a bit closer. I'll uncap it as well and give you a good comparison of that. Actually, it's very close when you do that. But the Collier Grande is a little bit, like, thicker. Incredible pen, too. I've had this one for, like, 7 or 8 years, too. I just haven't been reviewing as much as I would like to be doing. Then here's a Benu Euphoria in Caramel Latte is the color. It's a number 6 Schmidt nib. Actually, this is closer than I thought it would be, but obviously the nib is going to be quite larger on the Collier. And then last but not least, now I have reviewed this pen, and I think this is the closest size comparison to the Collier Grande. I think if you already are using one and you'll like the Collier Grande, is a Mont Blanc 149. This is a vintage one, but it's not that vintage. I think it's from the late 80s. It's very close. The Collier Grande is just barely a little bit longer. And in thickness, they're actually about the same. But I actually want to admit something. As much as I really, really adore the 149, I actually like the script section a little bit better than the 149 on the Collier Grande, because it's a little concave spot, and the threads are there, but you can barely feel them. It's just excellent. So I believe that will do it for the chatting part, and I will see you on the dot pad for writing. Okay, so I'd like to make a couple little pointers here before I begin to do this writing sample for it. Is that since this is a larger pen, I wanted to bring up the fact of if it will go into carrying cases. And the two that I use on basically a daily basis are these two Mont Blanc cases, and one's the single and one is the double. And I've been using it in the double case, and it seems to fit very easily in there. And it's pretty much fits perfectly in that case. And also, but the single case, it will go pretty well, but it doesn't like to shut completely for the height of this end of the cap, but it's no big deal. It's still carried around fine for me. So I just thought that might be an important thing to bring up. So Mr. Gray did a great job designing this as a large pen, yet it still fit in a case, and I would assume that those are fairly common sized cases. So we have the Edison Collier Grande. This is a broad Magna Carta nib. It's a steel nib, which that's no big deal to me. I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent here because that would definitely become a new video, you know. But lately I've had a stronger appreciation for good steel nibs. I mean, when I started the hobby, I thought, you know, I have to have a gold nib. I think my first gold nib was the Pelican. I may be wrong, but regardless, it's not been a factor as strongly to me. I just appreciate a good writing nib, no matter the material. So, and that's just a little side thing. I'm sure one day I'll make a whole video on that. I mean, a steel versus gold video. The paper here is a Rhodia 80 gram 80 GSM dot pad. And an ink is Noodler's brown. So this is just their regular classic brown. And this is what the bottle looks like. It just basically represents what the regular black looks like in the bottle with the catfish. And also, I may have stated in the original video, but I'm okay with using Noodlers in this because it has the non-corrosive, chemical resistant O-rings in it. So it's not a big deal at all. So I just am using Noodlers, and I really enjoy Noodlers products. You know, I mean, just basically, I'm kind of, if you just stay away from Bay State or something with crazy properties, you're pretty much good. So that's that. Now the writing. That's not the pen, that was me. I felt me lift up. It's extremely smooth. It's gorgeous. Of course, Mr. Gray likes to tune them to a 7 out of 10 flow, and this may even be at like 8 or 9 out of 10. It's quite smooth. I really enjoy it a lot. And though it is a steel nib, and the price is as high as it is, it's just done so very well that I personally think it's worth it. Okay. And then, in regards to if it will reverse right. I've not tested this. And it runs dry, but it'll actually do it, and not do it too bad. And you kind of have to hold it at a high angle, but that's no big deal. And then if there's any line variation, it's a steel nib, so I'm kind of not expecting much, but we will test that. Not really. So there's no pressure, and that's kind of pushing it. This is more of like a daily riding nib. That's perfectly fine. And like I said, I've done a bunch of homework and letters, and it just does quite really lovely with it. And then the wetness, plenty wet. It's really very nice. So I think that about covers it. And yes, so it's just a really extremely solid pen. I think it's worth every penny. So if you're big into the hobby and you would like a really handmade type pen, you know, yes, it's a steel nib, but again, as I said, it's just done so well, and I think that covers everything. So I will gladly see you guys later, and I hope that you guys have a good one. So take care.